SuperTalk.com. All right, let me get to Howard Stovall, producer of Mighty Roots Music. Howard, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Paul. Thank you for having me.
I played a little Muddy Waters there, man. And I know that area. We had family living somewhere in that area for a while, and of course, I think I hit every pothole and lake outside of Stovall. I've rabbit hunted in Farrell and Stovall area for a long time. Just a wonderful place, but. You know, even back then, did not know and appreciate the history of that area as far as the blues is concerned.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story of how I kind of learned it, and it's an interesting one. I had come across the original Muddy Waters down on Stovall Plantation recording when I was a kid, and so I was somewhat aware of this blues thing. But I was in Chicago. I was working. I was out of college. I was at the Chicago Board of Trade, and through a series of circumstances, I ended up hosting on the trading floor Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top. And
wow.
I'm showing him around the trading floor, and we end up going out to dinner that night. And I'm sitting here with my teen rock and roll idol. I mean, ZZ Top just hung with. And we're sitting there at dinner, and Billy Gibbons turns to me and he goes, "Howard, there's this real famous Stovall plantation down in Mississippi. Have you heard of it?" And I said, "Well, Billy, that's where I grew up." And he looked at me and said, "Man, I am blown away." And I said, "Well, here I am sitting with my rock and roll idol. And he's talking about something that apparently I should know a lot more about that I don't." And so I started at that moment learning about the blues history. And then when I moved back to the Delta in 1991, I dove into that blues thing with both feet. And what we're doing now is kind of a version 2.0 of that. But getting blues tourism started was a big part of the early 90s in the Delta.
I count myself lucky to be a guy who lived on a farm in the Mississippi Delta. At that period of time, it was tough in a lot of different ways. As any kid today who's involved in 4-H understands what farm life and animals and everything are, you have a lot of responsibilities, even as a young kid. But I always think about the cotton choppers who were there, African-American cotton choppers, young and old, when they were chopping cottons before we had any other way to do that. And the music that they were singing. And I thought,
yep,
that's kind of the conception of it right there, you know? I mean, that's where it all started. And then moving to Clarksdale and staying in Clarksdale for a while and politicking on Essequibo Avenue with some of those people outside singing blues, I have no earthly idea, but some of those people were some of the great blues artists later that came along.
No question, and Clarksdale is still turning out the best in blues.
Yes.
I mean, the face of blues in America is Kingfish, and he's straight out of the Delta Blues Museum education program. So it's still working, you know?
Let me ask you this. How are you monetizing that, or at least how are you celebrating that during this event? Where is it? What's it about? You've got the microphone.
Well, thank you. I'll mention just a little bit more about the blues thing, because in the early 90s, blues tourism was not something that a lot of people were thinking about. I actually wrote the first local ordinance that allowed you to have an open container on city property, which allowed us to have a blues festival. Then the Sunflower Festival started to grow. People like Roger Stoley came in, opened Cathead. And if you had told me then that 25 years later, Clarksdale's marketing slogan would be live blues 365 days a year, I would have said, well, thank you for the vision, but I think you're out over your skis a little bit here. And yet that's where we are, and it's become so fundamental to the local economy, this energy and draw of blues tourism. And so when I'm kind of looking at my second lap down here and what we can do, what I didn't want to do was to take that same pie and slice it differently. But my vision, and I've been a festival producer for 20 years for other people, and I decided this one we're going to build for ourselves. And what we're going to do is we're going to build something that's not blues and attract a new music fan into this area. And then we can say to that fan, hey, by the way, come back in 6 months at the Juke Joint Festival. It is off the chain. So we decided to build a festival that still celebrates roots music, especially with a very strong link to the agricultural economy, which is why we host Delta Council, which is why John Deere and Wade Incorporated have been a major sponsor since the beginning, which is why we have five cotton gins that are sponsors of our music festival. And find me another festival in America that's got five cotton gins sponsor.
Yeah, about
But
that.
the music that we're bringing in is bluegrass, it's country, it's reggae, it's singer-songwriter, it's indie. It's a lot of bands that are very popular with the younger crowd, but also this type of music, this Americana silo, is so approachable and listenable that it's family friendly. It's great for older folks. You and I can be sitting back there with a bourbon in our hands, having a conversation, listening out of one ear, and having a social experience and enjoying this festival in a different way than the 225-year-olds in front of the stage are enjoying that festival. But the music works on both levels.
I see Happy Landing. I think we got several cuts in the opening rotation as far as bumpers from Happy Landing. I do believe they got somebody from Oxford in there.
Yep.
Easy, Honey, Hans, Williams, and Hey Nothing, or is that two, Hey and Nothing? Or is it Hey Nothing?
It's Hey Nothing is one band. It's a duo out of Atlanta.
Okay.
They're right out of high school, and they are really getting great critical acclaim on their first tour.
Howard, where is this physically? Is it on the plantation itself, or where?
It is. We took our old cotton gin buildings and turned it into an event space. So the main stage sits right next to a grain bin that's right across the street from our cotton gin. This is right outside of Clarksdale. It's about 6 miles northwest of Clarksdale, right on Mississippi Highway 1. And then when our main stage shuts down, we move the action into the gin, and then the late night stuff. And Paul, we go till 3 in the morning. The late stuff is in the old Stovall store, which has been a country store for over 100 years.
Yes.
And so we're bringing it back to life as a music venue.
I think that's where you could get a liver cheese sandwich back in those days, or pig feet.
And minnows and crickets and all of your basic needs.
Absolutely. So as far as accommodations, is it camping there, or you have to find a hotel somewhere?
Well, we do. We're in the middle of nowhere. We decided the festival business wasn't hard enough, so let's do it in the middle of nowhere and make it just a little harder. So Clarksdale has a decent inventory of hotel rooms, has a lot of great B&B and inn type lodging, but we know that we have to build a little bit of an overnight community. So we have several dozen campsites. We have RV spots with power and water. We have tent camping. We have boondocking RVs. So we try to make as many ways as possible for people to come out and get on the site and stay there. That's certainly a way that a lot of people are going to enjoy it. The RV community is big into that. So
okay. Almost out of time here. Got to ask you a real question. Food truck's going to be there?
Oh, yeah. Doe's Eat Place truck is already parked on the property. So we'll have some soul food. We'll have some ribs. We'll have some corn dogs. We'll have all of those important. We've got the Delta Artist Market, Kids Zone. Kids under 10 are free. It's family friendly. We can go to the website, MightyRootsFestival.com, is where you can get tickets, or you can get them at the gate.
That's what I want to know. And it's this weekend?
It is this weekend. Friday starts at 5 o'clock. Saturday starts at 1 o'clock. Should be beautiful weather.
I hope so. Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. Howard Stovall, good report there. Brian Leiter and Jordan King coming up next.